The corridors of the royal palace of Lyria shimmered under a cascade of bioluminescent light, the walls alive with a slow, breathing glow that pulsed to the heartbeat of the city itself. It was a city suspended in the clouds, orbiting a gas giant whose storms painted the sky in violent swirls of orange and violet. Only the privileged few had ever set foot there, and I was suddenly one of them. Though whether by luck or sheer misfortune, I could not tell. I had come to Lyria as a delegate from Earth, sent to negotiate trade rights and technological exchange. But the moment I stepped into the throne hall, I sensed that diplomacy would take a back seat to forces far beyond my understanding. The queen herself, an imposing figure of crystalline elegance, sat upon her throne, her aura radiating authority so intense it was almost physical. I swallowed, attempting to steady my pulse. "My daughter, Princess Seraphine, wishes to speak with you." The queen's voice rang out, smooth but sharp as a laser. "She has chosen you." I blinked. "Chosen me?" A soft voice broke the tension, melodic yet commanding, floating to me like a feather carried on the wind. "Hello." Princess Seraphine stepped forward. Her skin shimmered with a subtle metallic hue, her eyes a deep, shifting silver that seemed to see right through me. She smiled, but there was a gravity in that smile, as if the weight of the entire Lyran Empire rested in her gaze. I don't understand," I stammered. "Chosen me for what?" Her gaze softened slightly. "For the Alliance," she said simply, "and for something more." Before I could protest or ask further, the queen leaned forward, her crystalline fingers tapping the armrest in a rhythm that seemed almost hypnotic. "You'll marry her tomorrow," she declared. The word struck me like a meteor impact. My mind reeled. I had never even spoken to her beyond the courtesies of diplomacy, and yet, by some decision I did not understand, my fate was sealed. This is impossible," I blurted. "I can't." The queen's gaze sharpened, cutting through my objections. "The choice is made. Seraphine has chosen. You will honor it." The court fell silent. Guards shifted uneasily, and the air felt charged, almost electrical. Princess Seraphine stepped closer, her presence calming yet commanding. "Please," she said softly, placing a hand on my arm. "I know this is sudden, but tomorrow, you'll see why I chose you. Tonight, we have much to discuss." And just like that, I was swept into the whirlwind of Lyran customs, rituals, and secrets. The palace was unlike anything I had imagined. The ceilings stretched high into iridescent domes, and the floors seemed to float beneath my feet. Luminous plants pulsed with life, reacting to the emotions of anyone nearby. I followed Seraphine through winding corridors, each more fantastical than the last, until we arrived at a chamber filled with holographic maps, star charts, and objects that defied all earthly physics. "I know this is overwhelming," she said, gesturing to the array of artifacts. "But I need you to understand who I am and why my choice matters." I nodded, trying to absorb everything. I don't even know where to start." "Start here," she said, activating a floating projection of the galaxy. Stars shimmered, planets rotated, and tiny symbols blinked like distant fireflies. The Lyran Empire spans across dozens of star systems. Alliances are made not just for politics, but for survival. And right now, we are at a critical juncture. She paused, her gaze steady. "You, Earth human, have something that can save us." I frowned. "Me? I'm just a negotiator. I don't have weapons or armies." "No," she said, shaking her head, "but you have a mind that can unravel the Xylan Code." I froze. The Xylan Code was legend, a complex energy algorithm that could stabilize or destroy entire star systems. No one had ever solved it. It had been the bane of Lyran scientists for centuries. And now she claimed I could do what they could not. Why me? I whispered, heart racing. She stepped closer. Because humans see patterns differently. Your species thinks in ways the Lyrans cannot. That is why I chose you. I swallowed hard. The enormity of the task crashed over me. And the marriage? Asked, trying to refocus. What does that have to do with anything? Seraphine smiled faintly, almost sadly. Marriage in Lyria is a bond, not just a ceremony. It creates a resonance between two minds. If we are bonded, our minds can work together. You cannot solve the Xylan code alone, but together, perhaps we can. I stared at her, realizing that my life had become unrecognizable. Tomorrow, I would marry a princess from another world, a world whose fate now rested on me. That night, sleep eluded me. I wandered the palace gardens, where floating flowers glimmered in the Lyran moonlight. Seraphine appeared beside me, her presence comforting in the eerie silence. You're thinking about tomorrow, she said softly. I'm thinking about everything, I admitted. I don't know if I can do this. You can, she said. You already have. Her words were a paradox, simple, yet impossible to fully grasp. And yet, a strange calm settled over me. I realized that fear was pointless. What mattered was understanding, connection, and trust. Tell me more about the code, I said, feeling a sudden surge of resolve. She guided me to a small chamber where the Xylan core floated, a crystalline sphere emitting a spectrum of colors, each representing a variable in the code. It's not just mathematics, she explained. It's living. It reacts to consciousness. You must think with it, not at it. I spent hours studying the core, Seraphine's guidance steadying me. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. Shapes, sequences, and logic that seemed impossible at first gradually revealed themselves. It was as if the core itself recognized my thought process, responding to the untrained yet intuitive human mind. By the time the first light of Lyria's twin suns crested the horizon, a breakthrough had been made. I solved a segment of the code that Lyrans had struggled with for centuries. Seraphine's eyes shone with pride. You see, she whispered, this is why I chose you. The wedding ceremony was unlike anything in human history. The palace had been transformed into a cathedral of light and sound. Floating orbs cast prismatic rays across the throngs of dignitaries from countless star systems. The queen presided over the ritual, her expression unreadable, though a subtle warmth glimmered in her crystalline eyes. As I stood beside Seraphine, her hand in mine, I felt an electric resonance coursing through us. The Xylan code, which had threatened destruction, now pulsed in harmony, its variables stabilizing under the resonance of our bonded minds. It was overwhelming, breathtaking, and terrifying, yet somehow utterly right. The queen approached us, her gaze piercing yet approving. So it is done, she said. The bond is forged. And thanks to you, human, the empire is saved. I could hardly respond. Words seemed meaningless. Instead, I looked at Seraphine, and in her eyes, I saw the entire universe reflected, a kaleidoscope of possibility, danger, and hope. In the days that followed, life in the palace became a blend of diplomacy, exploration, and wonder. I worked alongside Seraphine, continuing to refine the Xylan code, discovering secrets of the cosmos that no human had ever imagined. Our bond was more than ritual. It was a partnership of minds, a collaboration that transcended species and culture. And in quiet moments, when the stars hung like lanterns in the Lyran sky, we laughed together, shared stories of our worlds, and dreamed of futures yet unwritten. One evening, as we watched the storms of the gas giant swirl below, Seraphine turned to me. "Do you regret it?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. I shook my head. "Not for a moment," I said. "I've learned more in a few days than I could have imagined. And I've found someone worth everything." Her smile was radiant, and I realized that the palace, the code, the marriage, all of it, was the beginning of something far greater than either of us could have planned. A partnership not just of duty, but of heart, mind, and destiny. The Queen's earlier words echoed in my mind. "You'll marry her tomorrow." Yes, I would marry her tomorrow. But in truth, I had already married her in every way that mattered. Not by decree, not by duty, but by choice and by the quiet, unstoppable pull of fate across the stars. And as Lyria's twin suns set, casting the city in gold and violet, I knew that our story had only just begun. The wedding ceremony ended, but the palace was still alive with energy. Guests departed, leaving the halls quiet except for the soft hum of the city's pulse. Seraphine and I stood on a balcony overlooking the swirling storms of the gas giant below. The view was breathtaking, the kind of sight that made all the politics, pressure, and impossible calculations feel small. She turned to me, her silver eyes reflecting the twin sun's last rays. "I know this all happened so fast," she said, her voice trembling just slightly. "But I chose you because I knew you could see what others could not. And because I trust you." I felt a lump in my throat. I don't know if I can ever repay your trust. Or your bravery." She smiled softly and took my hand, intertwining our fingers. "You already have. Not with power or skill, but with your heart." That was what I needed most. A moment of silence stretched between us, not awkward, but charged, like the calm after a storm. Then, without warning, a sudden surge of light pulsed from the Xylan core, now stabilized in the palace's central chamber. It sent ribbons of energy dancing across the sky. I realized with a mixture of awe and relief that the Empire's survival was now assured, thanks to our bond. "You see," Seraphine whispered, "together, we didn't just save a civilization. We've created something new, a future that neither of us could have built alone." I nodded, unable to find words. For the first time since arriving in Lyria, fear and doubt melted entirely. Instead, there was hope, certainty, and a strange, profound peace. The Queen appeared at the balcony doorway, her crystal-like form shimmering in the last light. "I watched your journey," she said, her voice warmer than before. "And I know now my daughter's choice was wise. Yours too, human. You belong here. Together, you've done what no one thought possible." Seraphine leaned her head against my shoulder, and I wrapped my arm around her, feeling the resonance of our minds settle, steady and strong. Somewhere in the distance, the stars above Lyria blinked, as if acknowledging our triumph. The palace doors opened onto the vast city beyond, glowing softly, alive with energy and life. I looked at Seraphine and realized something extraordinary. The adventure was not over. It had only begun. Together, we would explore the cosmos, unravel the mysteries of the Xylan Code, and face whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at us. But for now, for this moment, there was peace. There was love. There was victory. And as the twin suns disappeared beyond the horizon, casting violet and gold across the sky, I knew with certainty that I had found my place. Not just in Lyria, or in the Empire, but beside the one person who had chosen me, and whom I had chosen in return. A new chapter had begun, one written not by duty alone, but by courage, trust, and the unshakable bond between a human and an alien princess. And as long as we faced it together, there was nothing in the universe we could not overcome.